al-Kaba'ir, the book of major sins, Babu Dhikr al-Rayb, the chapter regarding doubt and uncertainty. The author here brings a few ayat regarding doubt and uncertainty. The first verse, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا. Verily, the believers are the ones that only the believers are the ones that believe in Allah and His Messenger, and then they have no doubt in that whatsoever. ثُمَّ لَمْ يَرْتَابُوا. They have no doubt in that, they only have certainty. The author then brings a verse, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. The ones who believe in that which was sent to you and that which was sent to the ones before you, and they have after that certainty regarding the Akhirah. Now here, the authors bring in one of the verses from Surah Al-Baqarah, and this is a very important verse regarding certainty and not having doubt. What is doubt? What is raib? First of all, it's having a shakiness, having hesitation, and having doubt in anything. The believers regarding the ghaib, regarding their iman, have certainty. They have no doubt in this. In the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Azza wa Jal begins by talking about and classifying the believers, and then the disbelievers, and then the hypocrites. Mujahid says that the believers were talked about in 4 ayat, and the disbelievers in 2 ayat, and the hypocrites in 13 verses in the beginning of Surah Al-Baqarah. So Allah Azza wa Jal classifies each one of them with characteristics. So it's important for us to analyze them and make sure we're from the believers. The ayat begin, Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. Alif Lam Mim, that is the book that has no raib in it whatsoever. No doubt in it whatsoever. Again, coinciding with the title of the chapter, there's no doubt in this book in the Quran. So in our day and time, you find a lot of people that use the Quran only if, or believe in the Quran only if it coincides with their logic, with their theory. If it coincides with science, we take the Quran. Whereas the true believer understands that the Quran has no doubt in it whatsoever. Meaning that if there's a situation where the Quran is contradicting something in science, or in theory, or in mantiq, or whatever it might be, we give precedence right away to the Quran. And we know right away that whatever it's contradicting is false. There's a 100% guarantee that whatever it's contradicting must be false. Or again, as in our day and time, some people, they're waiting now to prove the Quran with modern science. And if the modern science doesn't coincide with the Quran, then to them there's a problem. And they consider the Quran to be ظَنِّيُّ الدَّلَالَةِ. It's dhanni. It's not 100% certain. It's iffy. It could be and it couldn't be, based on science. But as we see, in science even, the science theories and the logic changes year after year. So the Quran is what's the criterion over all of that. The Quran is what's given the absolute authority over everything else. And this book has, as Allah Azza wa Jalla says, لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. It's guidance for the believers. Now Allah Azza wa Jalla will begin by describing who are the believers. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Number 1, the ones who believe in the ghaib. What is the ghaib? Ghaib is anything that we can't see. Anything that we can't see is considered ghaib. So to us, Allah Azza wa Jal is ghaib, and the malaika are ghaib, and the prophets before us are ghaib, and the books before us are ghaib. Life of the grave and the hereafter and the accountability, the day of judgment, heaven, hellfire, that's all from the ghaib. So the true believers, yu'minuna bil ghaib. Their first characteristic, they believe in the unseen. And the unseen for them becomes like certainty, like it's seen to them. Why? Because of the strength of their iman. The strength of their iman leads them to believing and seeing the unseen as if it's seen. And Allah Azza wa Jal, in the Hadith al-Qudsi, where Allah Azza wa Jal sends the malaika to go out patrolling the halaqat al-dhikr. And the malaika come back to Allah Azza wa Jal and they say, we found some people. They're mentioning you, they're glorifying you, they're praising you, O Allah. Allah will ask them, and He's more aware. What are they asking for? What do they want? And they'll say, oh Allah, they want Jannah. What are they seeking refuge from? They're seeking refuge from the hellfire. So Allah will say, have they seen those things? They'll say, no, they haven't seen them. Allah Azza wa Jalla will say, what if they've seen them? So then Allah Azza wa Jalla in the end of the hadith says, oh malaika, you are my witness that I've forgiven all of them. So the stronger our iman is, the more belief we have in these umur al-ghaib. And the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in the end of his life, when some narrations mention he was calling out, Ikhwani, Ikhwani, my brothers, my brothers. So the Sahaba around him said, Ya Rasulullah, here we are. He said, no, la antum ashabi. You are my companions. But my brothers are the ones who will come after you, who will believe in me without ever having seen me. These are my true brothers. So again, the point is that the believers believe in the ghaib, the unseen. And the stronger our iman is, the stronger our belief in those things is, and that's what will drive us to do what comes next. الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةِ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And they establish the prayer, and from that which we bless them with, they spend, they give in charity. So it's very important that this belief in the ghaib that we have, it leads us to action. It's not just a belief in the heart that we claim. There has to be amal in order for that belief to be valid. And notice how the salah and the zakah or the nafaqah here always come together. Why? Why is that? Why do we find in the Quran يُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُم يُنْفِقُونَ يُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ. Over 80 times in the Quran, salah and zakah are mentioned together. What's the reason? What are some wisdoms that can come to mind as to why the salah and zakah are mentioned together?
Because people, they can't see them.
They can't see them? Okay.
Salah purifies your heart, maybe.
Okay, so some of the scholars gave the reason that salah is the number one thing to purify your heart and sins, and zakah is the number one thing to purify your dunya, your wealth, your material dunya that you're living in. Other scholars said salah is the number one right we have due to Allah, and zakah is the number one right we have due to the rest of the people. So they're always mentioned together, meaning make sure you give your right to Allah and make sure you give your right to the rest of the people. Going on about their characteristics, so they believe in the ghaib, they pray, they give in charity. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِن قَبْلِكَ. And they are the ones who believe in that which was sent to you and that which was sent before you. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. And regarding the akhirah, they have absolute yaqeen, they have certainty. So the scholars of tafsir said these verses are talking about the people of the book. The ones that when they're given the message, they're told about the final prophet, they accept it right away. Like the examples that we have of Waraqa ibn Nawfal, when Khadija brought the Prophet Muhammad to her cousin, who said right away, although he was a Christian scholar and monk, he said, I wish that I could live to see your day when your people drive you out of your land so that I can aid you and give victory to you. So this was him establishing his belief. Although his whole life he was upon Christianity. But when the truth came to him, nothing stopped him from believing. Or like the example of Najashi, when he was the king, Nagus, the king of Al-Habasha, when he allowed the Muslims to all come there. And when he heard from Ja'far that famous speech of what the Muslims believed, he said, what I believe and what you believe is one. And he accepted Islam, and the Prophet Muhammad even prayed janazah upon him from Al-Madinah. When he passed away, he prayed janazah on him all the way from Al-Madinah. So the point is that these are some of the verses regarding having the doubt. The true believers, they have no doubt. They have certainty, they know the Quran is haqq, they know that the akhirah is haqq, and that certainty is what drives them to do their good deeds. Whereas the disbelievers, they're always doubting. The Quranic verses mention about them, how do we know that the hour will be established? What if it's not? What if it is? So they're always doubting. And that doubt and suspicion will lead them to having that weak resolve. If someone is doubting and doesn't have yaqeen, what will drive them to spend in the charity and to establish the prayer and to stay away from the haram and to strive for the akhirah if they don't have that yaqeen, if they don't have that certainty? Now the question is, what if someone has doubt? What's the solution? Someone is doubting. Their resolve, their iman is shaky. They hear of certain things, they're not 100% sure. What's the solution? What do they do? What are some practical solutions of someone who has a little bit of shak regarding their belief, regarding the akhirah, regarding whatever it might be? What should they do?
Contact his scholars.
Okay, so number one, going back to knowledge and the people of knowledge. The number one solution that you could do is refer back to knowledge. Increasing your knowledge will directly affect your certainty or your doubt in your heart. The more you learn, the more you understand, the more you read, the more you witness the miracles of the Quran with your own eye, the more you understand, the more your heart is softened to the dhikr of Allah, the more certain you are regarding all of these things here, and the lesser your doubt becomes. Sitting down with the people of knowledge, discussing the shubuhat, the doubts that you have. What else? Increasing your ibadah, your acts of worship. Every time you worship Allah, your iman is increased. And when your iman is increased, your doubt in your heart is decreased. So seeking refuge in Allah from the shaitan, expelling the shaitan from your life, from your daily life, these are all things that you can do to weaken that doubt that you have and strengthen your yaqeen. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless us all and make us from the ones of yaqeen and to expel doubt from our hearts. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.